So I'm Misspelled, and this is the Royal Flush, a deep dive of a Prestidigitator tech. So I'll be covering how the comp functions, what the tech is and how it works, and some optimization suggestions so that you can start build crafting with this. Now, the class mod that this is covering is from the new raid, Substrator Enthralled the Invincible, and it has a % gun crit chance, fixed passive, and the most important points are Tender Hearts and Bloodstained Moon. The actual meat of this is going to be how you can build up stats and then use those stats. Building those stats can be from any crit source, but you only build up to 50 outside of Windfall. Using them is where it gets complicated. While in Windfall, you have a current stat times 2% chance to throw a spec card. The spec card is not necessarily true, but it is important to understand why this is working. You'll throw a max of 15 with no internal cooldown. Now, why the stats work is the card throwing and animation loop. So the card throwing will track the stats if and when you throw a card and what card it is going to throw. The animation loop, on the other hand, is the actual animation of Cash throwing a card and then randomizing and sending that to the card throwing loop. The variables that are in these loops, such as the stored card, will preserve until you remove the class mod or exit the game. The animation loop is incredibly important to understand for this Royal Flush tech. So a Royal Flush is when Cash will throw a single type of card rapidly during Windfall. It'll look like a machine gun coming out of your hand. The way to proc this is to get a number of rapid crits as fast as possible. The easiest way to do this is through an animation loop cancel and the cowboy card. The animation loop canceling can be done through sleight of hand being active, holding Clarimancy dice like him rolling the dice around in his hand, or just being in crossfire. The fourth one, and the most important one, and most buggy one, is the grenade. So when you throw a grenade, you start cooking it immediately after you throw it. The icon in your bottom right will turn blue, but you will not actually have a grenade in your hand. So whenever you release the grenade button, it will not throw it. This breaks the animations in your left hand, which includes the throwing animation, which means that because of the animation loop randomization that we talked about earlier, the card that you have stored in your card throwing loop will permanently stay stored until you either throw a grenade, remove the class mod, or exit the game. Now, the Royal Flush, how to use it. This is where build crafting starts to get talked about. So you can stack the deck by storing a specific card through any of the animation cancels that we talked about. The cowboy is the optimal one because it triggers a very, very large amount of hits through its novas and its initial impact. Now, Piercer, Tender Hearts are also incredibly important because you need rapid crits, so having a ton of crit chance helps. The cooler is a two-sided bonus to this build. The cooler can proc Groundbreaker, which means that we can proc this large stored kinetic damage from a cowboy Royal Flush and at a range, because the cooler is a thrown card. It travels straight in a line, but also tracks slightly. But you have to be standing away. So if you're like point blank, like less than 5 meters, a Royal Flush will not trigger. You have to be somewhat away from a boss. There's not a range to it. It's just it's finicky on some. So on vault bosses, this will be less consistent. But say on Idolator Saul, this is extremely consistent on him whenever you have his weak points exposed. So here's an example of it. I'm going to be starting off by stacking with the Katagawa's Revenge, and then proccing Windfall, and I use the grenade tech to store the cowboy, and then I have Cooler to proc Groundbreaker, and yeah, I've used all my stats. Stats are starting to build up again just from action skill crits. That is most likely what a rotation would look like. It's replicable for the most part. The gear recommendations that I have are a Jacobs and COV weapon for no limit anti-up, and you also want like a ton of projectiles. So like a Convergence, a Cyclone, a Katagawa's Revenge are very solid options because they have a ton of hits per projectile. Hot Slugger you'll want for Windfall procs because we do lose out on a lot of chances for Windfall. Any shield will work, but Watch for Dinner I've noticed is best for fortune stacking through Alchemy. The shock damage has a chance to proc a status effect, so it's easy to get like 20 fortune stats if you're using no limit, which gives you a massive bonus through anti-up. Another suggestion is Piercer. Piercer's a 20% chance to critically hit for Jacob's part of guns, and Jacob's guns in this game are extremely powerful, not only for their ricochets, but also because of this enhancement and others. The damage rotation. Now, consistency is not 5 out of 5. It's not Ordnance Aim On where you shoot an ordnance, you provide a stat effect, you kill the boss. It's a little more involved, but it's very, very replicable if you use the grenade tech. The difficulty is 2 out of 5. Most of this build or interaction is removing a lot of your survivability, but you can get that back in several ways. The initial part of this is getting your fortune versus your stats. Elemental guns like Katagawa's with Alchemy and Watchford and Vigorous are like instantly 50 and 20 stats respectively. Stacking the deck can be done through the Hot Slugger or your action skill. The most reliable way to do this is to enter Windfall using Hot Slugger, proc a cowboy card with its single projectile, then immediately activate an action skill. That way your card will be stored. The next step to that is to trigger a Royal Flush with the cowboy or a card. The additional tech you can do is using a grenade, the grenade tech. But it can be done at any time. So after Windfall ends, you can do the throw, cancel throw, and it will store the cowboy. Groundbreaker is incredibly important in our damage rotation. Using sleight of hand with Cooler is good, or if you have like non-sleight of hand, use a melee attack, Wretched Shadows, or the Mighty Nine Totem for Groundbreaker procs. Skillcraft, the second 2 out of 3 skillcraft can allow Groundbreaker to crit, which with our crit damage for skill is very, very high. Like I'm talking like 200 million plus. After you've done this, you can repeat it. It's not hard. Now this is an example skill tree. I want you to make your own, but this is an example that I use personally. Alchemy, Vigorous, Sounds of Rain, and Devil's Tines are all incredibly important for like quality of life, stacking, like getting to the point where you can do damage as quick as possible. No Limit, Anti-Up, and Tender Hearts are the main like scaling for your damage. And then your Prestidigitator class mod, just follow what I said earlier about the points and the passives, and you should be good. Now, this is an example rotation of true UVH7 Timekeeper with the grenade tech active, just for consistency's sake. So yeah, 20-second kill on the highest like health boss outside of Beta Encore and the raid bosses. I do have a clip of Beta Encore Radix at True UVH7. This one's a little less consistent purely because of the boss and the way he functions, but like it's relatively easy to like do this. It's not as consistent as Timekeeper per se because Radixes tend to float, but it's an example of the possibilities of this build. Credits go to WRW713 and Shanks. WRW713 figured out how stacking the deck works, and he helped me confirm some of the mechanics of the class mod and the Royal Flush. Shanks helped find the grenade tech and found the limitations of what resets the stacked card. And then whoever figured out the anti-up, no limit COV and the cooler groundbreaker interactions, thank you. This build will not be possible without those. If you have suggestions for more videos, this has been like probably the first of a series that I want to do for Borderlands and Destiny, where I go through something and help people understand it. If you have suggestions, I'm very open to them. If you have any comments, constructive feedback, you can leave it below. Now, I do recommend you check out the Soup Kitchen for all of like the Borderlands science community. There's some very helpful people on there. They're very friendly. And if you want to find like all the good builds, I guess, go there. They'll have a ton of guides, a ton of people that can help you understand. It's an amazing community. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.